What is up, everybody? Welcome back to our YouTube channel. You're, of course, hanging out with
BW Givenchy
and myself, BW Haron Muhuli. OG, umesema tuache kuita OG ama?
Ikasa unaweza niita pia.
Okay, I'll stick with whatever you go by. So this time, umesema Givenchy, acha niseme Givenchy. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
I am okay.
Uh-huh.
Can't complain. Ups and downs kama kawaida, but I'm grateful. Of course, you have to be grateful.
Yeah, for sure.
How about you?
I'm also grateful by the way. It's another day. Yeah, so we thank God and we tunaendelea as tunachapa episode 18 bana.
The big 1-8.
The big 1-8 bana. Yeah.
Nakwambia, we have 3 half dozens baked, my friend. Yeah, we're still going.
We are still going strong.
So make it lazima tukue serious.
Lazima tukue serious.
Very good to hear. So I wanted us to start off today's episode, but I don't know. Kulikuwa na ile callback. You want us to do the callback, or we just to flow?
I think today the pilot just whatever you say goes. Me, I'm just
Sasa juu many
you're the captain. I'm the first officer, so.
Okay, but it's just a summary. Before, I'm sure guys have already seen whatever we are talking about in this episode, but it's just a callback to the last episode. And one of the mentions, I know that people don't usually chat on the responses, but they will share either privately, reach out to you, labda mtu atakusimamisha. Nimeambia umesimamishwa tao
mara kadhaa na watu. Wananiambia, "Ai, na wewe ndo naona nikaa nakujua. Nimekuona wapi?"
So in the last episode, I remember when we were doing pride versus humility, we had focused on a specific spectrum of pride. I don't know, we can actually, I'm thinking, if you're open to it, I think we can go through as well. We took a specific spectrum. I'm using spectrum because that's the best way I can define it. That if you look at pride as a definition, there are a lot of things that will can be categorized as pride. And in the episode, we focused on something specific, a specific trait that would be considered a pride trait, right?
Yeah.
And when we were doing that, we also spoke. The discussion on humility was quite broad, right? And I think hata kama hatuendi sana, I know if guys want, we can go back to this episode. Not even go back, just build up more on whatever you need to know about humility and pride and all that. But just to mention that it was slightly broad of humility. And no matter how you think about humility/pride, there are some things that you can pick, even if you were to talk about a spectrum of humility, that would still match as comparison to help you just look at how you are meant to operate in any specific situation, right? I don't know if it makes sense.
It does. It does. But now I'm just wondering, like you're saying, do we like, revisit that?
I think it wouldn't be a revisit. We can only make it better. It would be probably a follow-up episode and just have a wider discussion, because what we've been doing or what we've been seeing is every time we tackle a specific topic, we realize that it has a lot of depth to it. So all you can do is tumesema hii kisima tumeichimba 6 feet leo, next time tutaingia mpaka 18 feet, right?
Yeah.
Sorry for guys who don't speak Swahili, I saw we are going international. Essentially, it's just just trying to say that we can only go deeper. So we will build that library as we go. I'm sure we'll get to episode 30 and we'll say, what do we need to talk about, right?
For sure. And even as he's saying, on that topic of humility versus pride, I think some people expressed interest in just even coming on set and just
name boy.
Astaki kuname watu. Acha tu when that time comes.
Kumbe ni mimi peke yangu unanianikaga hapa. Na watu wengine hapa sasa ndio unaanza, I do not want to quote my sources. You
By
know
the-
I'm a very independent.
Yes, I know
Hapa
what to
sahi.
put the sources for now.
Na ikifika saa kunianika.
Never see, you are an open book.
Hey.
Okay. So yeah, some guys expressed interest,
Mhm.
and we are very much open to that, by the way.
Mhm.
So even as we do that, just dig deeper in as far as that topic is concerned.
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll have maybe someone extra to just give us another
Perspective
yes,
on that conversation.
exactly.
Okay, very well and good. So guys, if you think we do not take your comments or your sentiments to heart, this is evidence today. Tunaweza ongea. By the way, there's a lot of input we've had. I think we also just need to have an episode yenye tunasema okay, nakumbuka niliambiwa.
By the way, actually, hata before uendelee,
Mhm.
on that topic, because I remember last time I asked you a question about what AD stands for,
Mhm.
and then you thought it was after death.
Yeah, I thought it was
So
after
actually,
that.
I got some other guys who told me the same thing. They thought they've been thinking all along it's after
It's
death.
after that.
They were surprised.
Yo,
to
my
find out
mind
it's-
was blown. Me, by the
it's
way,
not. Yeah.
I was like,
so-
what? Wait.
Yeah. But yeah.
Now that by the after you mentioned it, was like by there I was just being foolish, thinking that it means after death and
Yeah.
its origins as dreamer Greek and whatnot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, if you think of it as after death, after death was Jesus apparently lived for 33 years.
Mhm.
So then does it mean that it's
How-
after the
how do you
33 years?
account for the
For the
33
33 years,
years?
so
that
there'll
are-
be that
yeah,
meaning.
very
But you
true.
see, with the BC before
Christ,
and then-
after he was born.
then yeah, when
yeah,
you get
you haven't lost
to
any
1
time there.
BC,
Uh-huh.
you move from 1 BC to 1 AD.
Yes.
So
very
there's no
true.
zero. And the
There's
reason
no
why
zero.
there's no zero is because
There is.
the Roman numerals do not have a zero. And the calendar was created at that time.
Oh, jamaa. Oh my friend. Zingine tunafaa tuongelee nyuma.
Sorry. So I was just trying to make the point
But it
that
makes sense.
the,
It makes
if you
sense.
say the AD is after death, then you see the 33 years we're not accounting
We're not
for them
accounting
then.
for.
Yeah. So
yeah.
AD is in the year of our Lord.
Okay.
Anno Domini, yeah.
Anno Domini.
Yeah.
Yeah. Won't forget that. Very interesting. Okay. So,
We,
tuendelee.
usikuwa na maswali unataka kuniuliza. Acha tuendelee kwa topic ya leo, please.
Ilikuwa ni kucharaze.
Please do, ni forgive
Ah,
for
okay,
leo.
no. But I didn't have any questions.
nice,
I
nice.
think we'll do it next time, right?
That's okay.
Okay. So you want to lead us in today's topic?
I'll just tell people what you're talking about,
Mhm.
and then I'll hand it over to the
Not a
captain
problem.
as
Not a
the
problem.
first officer. I'll hand it
Umeniambia
over to the
hapa, yes,
captain.
hapa sahi, I'm the one calling shots. You won't like it.
Yeah. So today we are talking about growth
Mhm.
and development. I'm sure you've seen the
Yeah.
the
You've
topic
seen it,
down there
Mhm.
in the description. So yeah, and it's an interesting topic. I'm really looking forward to what we have in store.
What we have cooked up.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
yes. Uh-huh.
You would like to start off with
Of course.
just telling us what growth and development, what those terms mean.
Okay, yeah, very true. Okay, not a problem. I think let's start just by the technical definitions.
Mhm.
Ndio hapa watu wakitoka wasiseme hiyo video hata sikupata. As far as definitions are concerned, growth is just increase in amount. In summary, increase in amount, value, or importance. That can be considered as growth. So if today I count you as 1, tomorrow I count you as 1.2, that's growth. In summary, basic definition.
Yeah.
Here in the Google search, you can also just do your Google search and see on your end. Then development, on the other hand, is just to increase in complexity or become more advanced. So when I say advanced, in summary, what I'm trying to say is if I find you tomorrow to be more complicated than you are today, then I will say, OG, development much? That makes sense, right? And I think in today's conversation, I don't know if we can use them interchangeably in this setting, because the more I go through what it means to grow and what it means to develop, I am looking at growth as part of development.
Yeah.
Sijui kama
Yeah, by the way,
seeing the same
because
thing.
even from the definition you've given,
Mhm.
growth is, ni kama increase, jana you came, you found me like this, now I've made a few steps in a certain direction in as far as whatever context we're talking about. So development in the same breath, it's, it's like growth, yani.
It's
by the way, I agree, we can use those terms
interchangeably, right? Yeah. But I'm sure, okay, let the conversation flow, alafu we'll see where we get to this point. The reason, actually, let me also talk about a bit of background on that specific subject. The reason I really wanted us to talk about it is I remember it was a topic, I don't know if it was in high school or primary, growth and development. Biology ama science. Growth and development, and you'll go naangalia cells subdividing.
I think the
biology, yeah, very true. So it was very interesting to me that first of all, plants and animals, mambo yanye, you can be something as minute as a single cell to as complex as the Githinji we are seeing you today to be. I really just wanted to see how does that build into the person that we've been talking about, the successful person, the perfect person in quotes that we are trying to, of course, get to be. So I don't know, from your, I know probably I'm putting you on the spot, kidogo. Sorry.
You are. It's okay.
Paul, I'll hold that question for the next bit. But either way, I need to find out from you. When you look at growth or when you look at development, how do you see yourself now from how you've been meaning Githinji wa before na Githinji wa now?
I'd say there has been a lot of growth by the, to be honest, growth and development. Yeah.
Hata tuseme tu development.
Yes.
Kwa sababu now growth.
Okay. Because I think when you say growth, what we're thinking about is more of quantitative. Right?
It's yes.
But development is more like qualitative, as in it's yes. So I think for development, there's been a lot of development. That is me doing my own self-appraisal.
Okay, also tell us that appraisal is in comparison to what point of your timeline? Githinji 1 year, 2 years, you get?
I'd say the Githinji 5 years ago.
5? Okay.
5 years. Okay, let me just use 5 years ago.
5 years.
Compared to the Githinji that is sitting right here, right now. Those are two very different people in terms of development. And I think call back to most of our our episodes where we even give our stories, our life histories,
experiences
at work, experiences in so many different circles. As in, and for me, the one that I can point out specifically is just intellectual development. Let me just say it, because the thinking that I had, the mindset that I had back then, the worldview that I had back then, compared to the one that I hold right now, I look back and say, wow, and yeah, that kid was really naive. That kid didn't even know.
How was he surviving?
Yes, how was he surviving with, just very little knowledge, like, alikuwa na survive aje. So right now I'm looking at and saying, by the way, I have grown, especially when it comes to just, my thinking and my intellectual.
Okay.
And it's the same thing we were saying, that you realize as you start, for example, as you start growing, as you start learning more, as you start developing, you realize, wow, by the way, there's still a lot that I don't know, but compared to how I was 5 years back, that kid didn't know anything. He was just like walking blindly, just trying to find his way through life.
That kid was the caveman.
Yes,
in the cave with the lights and the shadows.
Exactly. Right? And just even call back to another episode that we did, I think, on mindfulness and
Self-awareness.
and self-awareness. Something like emotional intelligence. As in, for me, that is huge right now. Because back then, I would say my emotional intelligence, if we were just to put a scale to it, ilikuwa like below average.
So you mean you need to apologize to some people?
Yes. And I think if you go back to that episode, I apologize to some people by the way. Because now I'm able to relate to people better. I'm able to know how to handle different situations better. And yeah, that shows that my emotional intelligence, there has been a bit of development in that area. So yes.
Okay, that's
that's me just doing my own self-appraisal. Of course, maybe there are people out there who think different, who maybe look at me and say, baby, this guy, there's no development and growth. You, baby, it's like you're going
ulienda ukakana ukachukua episode yetu ya mindfulness and self-awareness ukasema now let's start ukasoma page.
So yeah.
Very okay. I think
so for me, I'd say the major development that I would say I have had over the years, and especially the past 5 years, is in as far as in intellectual development. That is my thinking, my mindset, my worldview, and things like that. So yes, let me just throw it back to you, and I'm also interested to know.
Now I'm also feeling like I'm on the spot because that is, my friend, that is a lot of development in a span of 5 years. I'm wondering, can I even measure the same?
But still, remember we said when it comes to self-appraisal, we have blind spots. There are areas that we may appraise ourselves. Tunajieka huku hivi juu, but kumbe tuko na unajipatia 98, kumbe watu wakikuangalia wana 25.
From what you've said, I can actually see them in you that there has been a lot of okay, I relate with you from time to time, right? I can see that there's whatever level Givinji is operating now is because he had to put in some work somewhere. Now the work is in the emotional intelligence that you're talking about, intelligence in general, your worldview. If by the level you operate on, it is clear that of course unajua we are main characters of our own stories, but si tukilala main characters wengine in their own stories wanachapa job. It's clear that in your story A, you've been putting in the hours. So for me, I don't know if I can say 5 years, because 5 years naona ni time kidogo. But
hata mimi nimekuwa conservative. Hata nimesema 5 years kurudi na nimekuwa like nini. So it's 5 years kwenda juu, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years going back.
Okay.
But I'd say like the majority like that exponential curve, like you start just growing.
So steepness
imekuwa the past 5 years, that's where
it has been steep.
Yes.
So your sigmoid curve hapo, the steepness has been the 5.
Exactly.
Okay. Very interesting. Okay, I'd also in summary, I have also seen a lot of development in the areas that you've mentioned. That by the way, I usually sit down and just say, hey, Haron Mumuli, okay, let me say 10-15 years back. I don't want to age myself. Haron Mumuli 10-15 years back, that guy would have been dead. How was he surviving?
I know.
As in, if you look at how oblivious you were then, it was actually shocking that you could still operate and just live. Unaelewa? As in, now if I'm counting back then, I still had my ID as in, bado any law-abiding citizen, and you don't know as much as you needed to know, because again, I'll just allow me to just mention whatever you've mentioned, that there has been a lot of development in emotional intelligence. Ata just with all that, not just the intelligence that you've mentioned, but how to operate in the society.
Yes.
I know, as in some people might think it's something simple, but just operating, my friend. there's a lot of development that has to happen there. So for me, I have had to just it's the acceptance. You say, by the way, okay, hata kama najifanya najua, I need to find out a bit more in some of the areas. Fortunately or unfortunately, my interests have been towards the areas that I don't know. Sindio? So with that, I have seen my knowledge just pan out, as in that when we started, we were on this Karaf Road Kamoja. Then you're like, haya, pale kuna branch ya mbili. Then once you unaanza na ile route alafu unarudi baadaye unaenda ile route ingine. Then kwa each of the two branches you find out higher on each there are 4. And for me that has been my growth. At some point it wasn't very intentional. Haikuwa ati I need to have, it wasn't. Ilikuwa that you stumble upon ama you realize that hey, because of this experience, now I am more aware of this. Now I know that this is how, right?
Yeah.
Then sometimes it has been intentional for me that I need to work on. So now I'll give an example. I need to work on emotional intelligence. So what are we talking about when we're talking about emotions? How do we need to relate if we're relating with other, right? With other people and all that. So I have also seen a lot of development. In summary, I have also seen a lot of development, and I think I'm also just grateful, right? Aya, sawa. The next query I wanted to ask you, sijui kama utanikubalia.
Ni sawa. Sina choice. You're the captain.
Hapo niniambia vile pilot. Na nikikwambia pull knob sijui nakaa aje tena unaanza kuniambia ai huku kwa. But I just wanted to find out now from you. You have mentioned that there's been some development in your setting, right?
Yeah.
In your person, let me say in your person.
Yeah.
When you're going through, it's a process, right? When you're going through that process, is it with awareness that I'm going to develop myself? Okay, that's a very, I know.
So I'd say, like for you, you've said the part of the growth and development has been intentional, and then part of it has been, it may not have been intentional. Yeah? But for me, I'd say, okay, it's the same case. There is development that has just, imekupata tu kwa njia, so uko like, haya, okay, una flow na. But for me, I think for development, it has to be very, very intentional. It has to be something you're like, okay, there's this area in my life that maybe there's,
I've realized I'm lacking, ama kuna shortcoming mahali.
Exactly. So once I've realized that, so what do? I need maybe to get to this point in terms of my development. So what are the routes that I need to take? What are the people that I need to speak to? What are things that I need to do different? What are the materials that I need to maybe consume? Things like that. So it has to be, for me, I think, largely it has to be a very intentional decision that you're making. Because then if it's not, then you'll just be developing. Let me just give an example of, nowadays we have these smart cities, where people just, they find a piece of land somewhere, then they decide, okay, this is the plan, we'll develop, we'll have a mall here, we'll have a school here, we'll have a university there, we'll have, sewage systems and everything. As in, if you look at the city itself, it has been planned, like people sat down and said, this is what we want, this is what we envision, and these are the things that we're going to do to get there.
Your example is summarizing.
Well, so you see, there's a lot of intentionality in that. So everything is planned. So as opposed to where, and I think most cities za kitambo zilikuwa hivyo.
Mlipata mmenunua shamba mkiwa watatu, a couple of guys come in, mnaanza kusema, we need a road here,
we need steamer. Kenya Power sijui pole moja imeko hapo. Mwingine akikuja, as in sewage system is not very efficient and stuff like that. So the planning is not there. And for there to be a plan actually indicates you have intention to actually do something as per certain. So for me, I look at personal development in that same way. And just to give you an example, like Nairobi for example, because ilikuwa yo city tu imekuja hivyo imetokea.
No, initially it was planned.
Okay, but if you compare it to
I
something
think sign
like,
imekuja tu.
so sasa unaona imekuja, sasa venye imekuja, that's why we have issues like, traffic. So now we are saying, oh, how do we sort this issue out? It cannot be sorted out.
What needs to happen?
Yes. So people who are going to build cities like Konza and other cities, Tatu and whatever, they have that model of Nairobi. If we allow this city to just develop, if everyone just develops the way they want, a few years later we'll have what we have in
a lot of
Nairobi.
bottlenecks.
Exactly.
Yeah, traffic, yeah, sewage, yeah, trash and all that. Hata tu traffic tu ya watu kuka.
Exactly. So just to avoid all that, let us just have this very well thought of plan, and then we'll implement it. So I look at personal development in the same way. I don't know if that analogy makes sense, but that is how I look at it. That you have to have that intentional, that intentionality, and just say, I want to be here in 2-3 years from now. So what do I do? What do I need? What materials do I need? What, So I think
resources do I need?
Yes. So for me, I'd say it has been
that,
and then I think part of personal development is that you also you know what you want and you know what you need, but it's also good that you also know what you don't need and what you don't, because if uko na hiyo clarity, then you won't waste your time. For example, I won't waste my time with certain things. Yes, they may be developing me, but yes, they are not taking me.
They aren't addressing the areas that you need.
Exactly. So if I'm intentional, I won't. I will just leave that alone. I'll be like, yes, it is development at the end of the day, but it is not addressing the need that I have. Yes.
Okay.
So I think that's how I'm looking at it.
So for you, that means that even as you're in the process, okay, now I'm thinking that although you have said that I need to become this person, kuna ile grind yenye uko nayo, ile 9 to 5, ile day-to-day activities. So you will also do some assessment on those day-to-day activities and say, by the way, I've seen improvement. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. To some extent, yes.
My friend, I'm realizing you're a lot complex than I think.
Yes, and let me just give this analogy. So, for example, I told you, last episode I mentioned that I've started going to the gym. So, for me, I'll say, okay, so I need maybe an hour or an hour and a half in the gym, maybe from Monday to Friday. So what do? I'll probably need to, I need to, maybe if I wake up at 5, I'll maybe need, initially I used to wake up at maybe 7. I'm not saying that's the time I wake up, but I'm just giving an example. Maybe I'll need to wake up at 6 or 5:30, and then I go to the gym, maybe early morning, and then come back, just take a quick shower, and then go to work. So as in, I'll just have to look at my timing, adjust it, or if I can't do it in the morning, then I'll make sure that I make time for it in the evening. So once nimetoka job, hakuna story ati kuzunguka tu tao tu hivyo tu aimlessly as unangoja giza ingie ndo ingie kwa nyumba. Ni unajua nimetoka kazi.
This is where I need to
I need to be in the gym by 6. So just dash haraka kwa nyumba, change, ingia kwa gym na upige zoezi. And it has to be very intentional. You're saying, okay, I know maybe I wanted to go, see someone, do something else, but because I have dedicated myself that I need to do this, and for me to actually get into the shape or body that I want to, I have to make this sacrifice, and it has to be done. So yes, I will have to rearrange the timing on my regular day, schedule, and just allot that time for the gym there, and just have that
I get the bit on making the arrangements so that there's better opportunity for you to develop, right? I'm also trying to get, you see, in development, you will realize, I remember, okay, one of the things that we're mentioning was, if I meet you tomorrow and I say, hey, you've become slightly complex than you were yesterday, right? So I'm also asking, when now, tuseme you woke up today at 6, tomorrow, yesterday you woke up at 6, today you woke up at 6 as well. Do you also do that assessment to see that there's a measure of development? Sijui kama ina make sense? Because, let me not say because, I'm trying to say, we tried to assess our development in a span of 5 years, right? I think I did even 15 years because me nikiangalia 5 years naona ni kama mi sigmoid yangu ilishafika kitambo. But what I'm trying to say is, what I'm trying to inquire is, on your day-to-day, do you also do that assessment? That now you're not doing a 5-year assessment, you're doing a yesterday and today assessment. Is there any development there? Do you also do that? As in, it's all in a matter of, I am trying to see whether I'm developing, right? So in accounting, you would do the daily reconciliations, right? And you'd check yesterday versus today, opening balance, closing balance, right? So now I'm asking that on development. I don't know, kind of makes sense.
It makes sense, but I think let me just say for myself.
Okay.
What?
Yes, it's for.
Yes. What is, I think, more realistic, or what I have managed to do, is the day-to-day. Yes, it's good if you can manage to do that well and good for you. But for me, I would be lying if I say that I'm able to sit down every day and just do an assessment of the previous day and today and just see, is there any development in as far as those 2 days are concerned. Personally, I look at it maybe in larger chunks of time, and let us just say months or even weeks. So I'll just divide it into maybe a month, into maybe a quarter, into maybe half a year and a year. But yeah, day to day, I it is a bit tricky, by the way, because if I look at myself, for example, nimekuwa nikienda gym for maybe sijakuwa nikienda.
We also need, after I'm thinking at the end of this episode, we also need to do a closing balance from your last week. Tuone pali huko na hii gym.
Najua nimeisema sana.
I remember we said we need to keep you accountable. Hii mwili si yako peke yako, tunaijengea Kenya.
But unajua inaweza kuwa and I think pia hata ukienda, acha tutumie example ya gym because it's easier to understand.
That's very
okay. Example ya gym, if you look at it, if I go today and then I go tomorrow, and then tomorrow maybe low, I was weighing like 65 kgs. Of course, it's not my actual weight, but let me just
kilo zake ni
hapa. So assuming jana nilipima ilikuwa 65.
Okay.
And then leo nimekuja. Jana nilipiga zoezi extreme. Gym trainer. Niko like hiyo lazima niko niliangusha kilo ka 1.5 hapo. So nikikuja kupima niko like bado ni 65. But saa zingine hata you'll find that it's not even 65, it's 66. Sijui ni mechanics gani zio anda kwa hiyo kitu. Na hata actually the trainers tell you do not obsess over measure every single day, because you'll find that maybe you had a very huge meal, and then it may affect nini yako nini. So if I do that, then inaweza nini kidogo, either itani discourage or it will just make me think this thing is not working. So ideally what I would do is go to the gym for like 2 weeks, and then after the second week I'll just go and see what's the progress, or a month. After the 1 month, and mind you, I have been intentionally going to the gym. All this, yes, I have measures. The discipline is there, the consistency is there. because then again, you don't expect me to go to the gym 3 days in 1 month, and then after your 1 month I'm like, we trainer, eka hiyo scale hapo tuone. Naona nikaa nime lose kilo ka 7 hivi. Mwezi imeisha already. Naona? Of course no.
Niliangusha
tu siku 3 peke yake.
The first 3 days.
The first 3 days. Na nika treadmill tu nilienda 15 minutes, nikachoka, nikahema, nikasema acha nitarudi baadaye, unaona? So I think it's a lot easier if you subdivide it into chunks of time that, you know, ziko kubwa kidogo. Then you're able to like look at yourself and say, hey, okay. And that's why we're saying, like, if I look at myself 5 years ago,
5 years,
then you can actually see there.
You can see there's a
yes.
curve.
But if I look at myself like maybe a month ago, okay, maybe you could see, but not as 5 years, because time gives you that you know, the visibility of just
seeing the change.
Seeing
exactly. The change that you have really planned into. Okay,
exactly.
So that all really.
But still, the day-to-day things matter. The putting in maybe the, you know,
just putting in structures to one, hold you accountable, or ensure that there is that room for, let's call it development, for growth and development. Growth and development.
Yes.
Okay, I also want to answer that query, but it's because it's
you should.
No, it's the same line.
No,
it's the same line. Okay, so
Captain Bana,
Captain hapa kumbe leo ni title tu. Kwa hiki tuko. But for me, the truth is, I do not, on my day-to-day, I will not at all say that I need to assess myself and see. At all.
It's difficult.
For me, I'll just, okay, what I have tried to live by is allow for that development, that I will say, instead of, okay, I don't know if that accounts for a plan in itself, that you've used an example, or the example of gymming. For me, okay, let me say a technical skill that is required in my profession. Once I realize that I'm lacking in it, what I will say is, okay, I realize I need to amass some knowledge in that front, right? Because I need, and it's not that I need to let go of anything as far as my operations are concerned, I will spare some time out of the time I have. So tuseme kama kawaida, same scenario for you, that from 6 to 7 nilikuwa naenda kuloita tao.
Tatu hapo umechila, so ajaba mpiga story ya holo.
Stories za ajaba.
Uliambiwa mwanaume hafai kuingia kwa nyumba kaa giza ijaingia.
Exactly. Justaki kufika home nianze kuambiwa si unipasie mwiko. So instead of I'll say, okay, stories ajaba, instead of an hour, I'll say 30-45 minutes. So for the 15 minutes, I'll just take some time off to now venture into that knowledge, as in kama ni consume now. Of course, for me it's not books. I try books, audio, video, or I'll just reach out to people who are skilled in that area or who have the knowledge already, and just try to amass as much as I can, right, to build that now, to enable that development that we're looking for. For me, that has been working. That's what I will do. If I do it day to day, I'm sure I'll be like, hey, hapa hakuna kitu nafanya. But once I sit down, and for me, it's not that I ever sit down and just start to look at from back then, nilikuwaga hivi. I never do. But it's just at random times when I'm operating, I'll be like, by the way, last year time kai, I knew nothing in this front. As in, or I had no idea that this was existing, right? And I know I've given an example of a very specific skill set, but it's in
which
general.
I think makes sense, by the way. That one is actually even easier for people to like
exactly
relate with,
to relate with.
Yeah.
But now it's in general that I will sit down. Now you can replicate that example to all other fronts. That by the way, back then I wouldn't even be aware that probably my colleague is struggling with. Now I have that. Unela.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be aware that probably Unela, as in it's all on all those fronts.
Yeah.
That for me now counts as just an assessment that kijana Haron from back then mpaka leo amechapa ka development flani, and it is because already once I think now that falls into the planning that you've mentioned, that I sit down and acknowledge that there's something amiss here, or I am forced to realize that there's something amiss, and I don't want it to be amiss anymore. So I will put in that effort to ensure at least next time anything of that sort finds me in that scenario, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
That's my...
By the way, when you were mentioning your story, technical skills, I remember when my first job, the first job that I got, so, you know, you were just given a desktop there, and then you were told, okay, this is what you're going to be doing. So, because it's accounting, you'll realize that your interaction with Excel, it's a lot. You're interacting with Excel in almost everything that you do, reports, and all
At
those
some point,
things.
lazima,
Yes.
no matter what system you have
to interact with Excel. So I realized at that time, you know, ukitoka shule, and then I think mulifanyanga ma computer packages, and then MS Excel, PowerPoint, whatever, all those things. You're even very uko na audacity hata kuziweka kwa CV as did computer packages at CG what college 3 months January to March 20 CG what, so uko like iko sawa. So once you're given that PC, that desktop, ndio Excel sasa tuko kwa ground sasa. By the way, I think even the person who was helping me, because there's a guy that nilikuwa huko, he had been there for a while, so he was very, very familiar with Excel and whatnot. So I think at some point he even wondered, even things as simple as control V, you even want me to show you, as in na saa hiyo ukiangalia like unajitocha
copy paste yako ilikuwa kurarua page na kuweka
underline yule. So as in nini yako Excel yangu ilikuwa 0 by the way. As in I'm lucky that the person that I got at that time, he was very patient and understanding. I can guide to pole pole, and then with time I started understanding Excel. At a PowerPoint 0, but apparently I had done the packages. So pole pole too. So and then I think for me pia nikianza ku learn something, and then vituka Excel, it's very interesting. You just so compared to actually I think an year later, I think the management discovered that the rate at which reports are coming out iko slow kidogo. We've realized that, you know, Excel is a very, very useful tool, and I think you know this by the Excel. I think even for us right now, you know, my knowledge of Excel iko juu kidogo, but I'm telling you, I'm not even using 5% of Excel.
Hey, it's true.
The
There's
things
a lot
you will see someone do things on Excel, and then your mind will just blow like in Excel bado. So the management discovered reports hazitoki na ile pace tunafaa zitoke now, so they decided let us just invite some people to do training for Excel for the entire department. So that was done by the, and we learned so much, like tulilearn vitu zingine nakwambia like ulikuwa una cheese unashindwa guy. Yaani mtu anaweza fanya hizi vitu na Excel.
Na kitu nilikuwa nafanya na
kitu ulikuwa unafanya na 3 days.
Jamaa na summarize hapo.
Jamaa 5 minutes sha. So if you look up things are done. No, umemaliza. So it saved us a lot of time by the efficiency ikakuwa tu sawa. And since then people got curious to even learn more. So guys would go on YouTube. It's the Dunning-Kruger thing. When you start learning, you realize, well, kumbe there's still a lot that I don't know. So you start. So
it's just that realization that you're oblivious.
Yes.
Kumbe I know nothing.
Yes.
I need to find out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So if I take that as an example, with venye nilikuwa coming into the company and my knowledge of Excel right now, as in the difference is night and day. But still even hapa penye niko bado niko down.
Kuna watu bado
wako
wenye wanaweza kukucharaza.
Yes.
Kungekuwa na kakompeka Excel.
Watalicharaza vibaya sana. But still unaona like hiyo aspect yenye ulikuwa unasema ya technical skills, you realize maybe there's some nini that is lacking in this area, and then maybe you be intentional in seeking out that expertise or knowledge or whatever to just improve. So my development when it comes to Excel, it has been imekuwa saa million now. It's an example nimefikiria of, as you're saying, about the technical skills and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So very interesting, and I like that you have added a bit more in that experience, so that it's clear that as long as you're intentional, there will be some development. I think that's what we are also trying to say, because the next point I was trying to assess is, we have said that in general, okay, first of all, let me try and summarize. In general, will there be development? For example, in your life, in my life, in general, for us all, what do you think? Okay, let's also
I'd like to think so, that in general there would be. If we also just take that example of when I first got into that job, and then I was given a desktop and then told, we need this report, we need this and this, I was forced into just...
Oh, you were forced into...
So it's not that it's something that I did intentionally, it's circumstances forced me into acquiring
so
that
now
skill.
that also plays into...
Yes.
There are some areas where the development hasn't been intentional,
Yes.
that you have... okay.
But then, once you start, learning and growing, you realize, okay, and then you start getting more responsibilities as you're growing in your career.
You realize that you have more requirements.
Yes.
That just need you to take up that position or be that person, let's say.
So now you become intentional about that growth and that
okay.
development. Not just for you, even for your team, because you'll realize that even at work, whatever you're doing, so we said, call back to, I think, the episode on,
corporate culture.
Corporate cultures. Whatever you're doing, it's, you're depending on a lot of input from a lot of other sources. So even if these other sources are giving you, we say garbage in, garbage out. If they're not giving you the standard that you have developed yourself to this standard, but these guys are giving you something very substandard. Let me just give you that, go back to that example of our department. We got trained on Excel. We were very good. Everyone was good. But then, a lot of the reports that we were depending on were coming from other departments whose knowledge of Excel was still very wanting, yeah? So there's still... unakuwa nako karibu bado unaona, so nyinyi mko sawa, lakini wale watu mnategemea huko chini, so kwa hapa juu so so there are some instances where it will, circumstances will necessitate that you acquire ama you develop, and instances where out of your own volition you'll say, okay, I need to be intentional about this and just seek out this development and growth.
You have, okay, so far we've pointed out two scenarios that lead to development, right? That the environment will require you to get some development in whatever area it is. I know that we're using the profession as an example, but it could be any area in your lives, right?
Okay, call back to the episode on mindfulness and self-awareness. Remember the story I gave about, I once had a girlfriend.
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah, that's also a good example.
Yes, and
who triggered
that I developed my emotional intelligence.
So that's also an example of the environment.
Yes.
Just requiring you to at least develop, right? To grow and develop, right?
So to understand that, by the way, just go back to that
the
episode.
link.
But I think our editor will place that link
Yes,
there.
ataweka tu link juu ama
To my,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So that's the first example, right? Then the second example is that you have identified that I know I fall short as far as now. I'd like to put an example where probably in the example you've shared, your profession, your Excel, the management realized that hamko sawa wakawatumia. But I'd like to think that even you only realize, hey, hapa siko sawa, I need to do something, and you first of all started to just reach out to some resources, right?
To be honest, that one, I think, let me just speak for myself. I don't know about my other colleagues. But for that one,
Where?
it's the management that realized. Personally, I hadn't realized that, you can do all these things with Excel.
Okay.
So once now tulianza kufunzwa, that's when I realized,
there's a lot.
There's a lot. But to be honest, if it were up to me, probably even now I would have.
Ungekuwa bado oblivious.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's still an example of yenye the environment has required you.
Yes.
But I'm sure there are also examples where you realize, in that situation you realize that, hey, let me use your example yako ya gym. Si ati uliambiwa, hey, my friend, ni uliamua tu, right?
But ni kuna watu walikuwa wananiambia hapa nje. Hata kujifanya hata wewe uko hapo.
No,
watu walikuwa wakiniambia, kijana bana, hii weight vile unakuja bana, kweli ni nini? So
nilipata kadi ya Mbaba Society na umekataa kutuletea invite. Si wengine.
Jana ni mdogo, hata hajafika miaka 22 na anakaa Mbaba za 45. So ina necessitate to.
So still it's the environment.
Yeah.
I'm trying. Pole bana. Si nilikuwa na for me nilikuwa naimaanisha kama sifa bana.
Okay. Yeah, maybe ilikuwa sifa. Wengine ilikuwa sifa, lakini most of them ilikuwa kijana bana, ni mdogo bana. So yeah, ilikuwa.
Okay. I'm still trying to get an example where you did not listen to it's not the environment that told you that you need to develop. You just decided that, hey, I need to be proficient or I need to be good in this area.
I think one of them would be, I can just give an example.
Very okay.
But still, I think that would still be environment.
That would still be environment.
Because it's work, and then it's something like, let's say even something like this, something like podcasting. So, because we are doing a podcast.
Yes.
So even if naweza kuwa, but I think hiyo ni environment itakuwa imetuforce. For example, if I'm not very fluent, if niko na uoga ya camera and things like that would be. But let's say even before we start the podcast,
did a bit of research, and you were just getting the inputs from there. Yes.
And then I was like, okay, maybe, because maybe in the next few months or next year, I would like to start a podcast with Momoli, and I know that when it comes to speaking in front of a camera, confidence kidogo
wanting.
So maybe I need to.
I
don't know if
kidogo. That.
I don't know if hiyo inaweza kuwa.
That looks like yes, that you have preempted that development. That you will take some time off. Useme tu, hey, wacha niongeleshe kio. Useme, guys also think that kufanya it's. But taking that time off to just get to learn that this is how I'll be interacting when I sit down. That is also development.
Yeah.
That's kuna the environment, and then there's the self-development.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or
self is, it's you.
I'm the one who wants it, right? It's me who's decided that I want to be proficient in this area. Because the environment doesn't care. For example, for you, okay, for you, accounting was important to you, right?
Yeah.
But probably reading wasn't very important. You could still be accountant without necessarily having to read the number of books that I've seen you assemble in this in your career,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Sindio,
yes.
the environment hasn't required that of you, but you've still felt that you need to just build that
Yes.
muscle. Sindio?
Yes.
That's the second.
By there, yes. Cause like you're saying, even maybe material that I read, or maybe even books that I read, podcasts that I listen to, and there are things that are adding value to me at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
No one is, I'm not forced. No one is telling me you need to do this, but you've just assessed yourself, and you're like, okay, I think I am lacking in this area. Maybe I need to just maybe read a book, listen to a podcast regarding that,
Mm-hmm.
and then see how something like, let's say, personal finance management.
Mhm.
So naweza kwambia tu ni bachelor, nimekaa tu, like my money I'll just use it however I
My money
want.
is my money.
I
Bora
have a
najua
job.
kutafuta nitaspend vile
Money
najisikia.
hata nikispend yote ishe, I'll still get some more money at the end of the month.
Mhm.
But unaweza kaa chini ujiambie, but still the way I'm using money,
Yes.
maybe I need to be a bit, use it wisely, yeah? In the sense that, yes, I know I have a job, I'll retire at 55, God willing, but can I do something to make sure that I secure that future right
Once
now?
it gets to that
No
point,
one is forcing me to do that.
It's not a requirement. It's
yes.
not written anywhere that
It's not
we're
written.
bachelor, my friend.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's not written that I need to save. It's not written that I need to... Okay, so hizo wana to force, but it's not. This is again. It's not written that I need to put aside like 10% of my income just towards my rainy day fund. But I feel acha tu nieke tu for my own maybe peace of mind, like we said in the previous episode. For my own peace of mind, I need to save some money. So I think that would be a good example where you're like seeking knowledge on just enhancing your personal finance management skills, to make sure that you manage the match that you're getting, and yeah.
Okay, that actually is a perfect example that you have decided ni mimi mwenyewe ndio nita develop in this area, right? So now I wanted to ask, but this time I'll answer first. Ndio usini attack.
I wasn't going to answer, by the way.
Where?
It's you now.
Okay, so the query was, in the two, so far we have identified those two as the areas of development, right? As not the areas, the points that would lead to development to an individual. Myself, yourself, I'm thinking about the audience as well, right? Which of the two has resulted to more, to you being the better person that you've intended to be than the other? And I get, as in, if you were to choose which one you would take, which one would it be? Let me answer first.
Oh, sorry.
Juna, no,
Lakini unajua, hii ni ile, like, umuuliza swali, mwalimu ameuliza swali kwa class.
No, because that's
uko naanza kwa kichwa utaki ipotee, so.
Alright, so then I'll let you.
Alafu amesema, we'll start from there. Jogona, tell us.
I hope my response will help build into your answer more, right? For me, what has really helped me? Okay, unfortunately, I don't want to say that the environment requiring me to develop hasn't helped. It has done a lot. But really what has helped me is the scenarios where I have decided that, hey, because I intend to be this way, let me just branch out, let me build out this scenario. And the examples I would give, of course, now is, again, let me go back to profession. Sorry to natumia hizi examples.
No, it's good, because I think even profession is easier for people to like.
It's easier to digest, but it's not just in the aspect of profession. It covers all aspects of life.
Yes.
That essentially you could do the same with emotional intelligence. You could do the same in intellect. You could do the same, right?
Yes.
For me, when I was joining campus, and I know I've used this example before, I realized that, hey, I have taken a course of I had never done anything about it. I remember I was taking computer science, and I hadn't done anything to deal with comps. The experience I had in computers was playing Dave. I remember, was it in class 7, class 6? Shout out to the guys we were in primary when walinifunza kucheza Dave. I remember ilikuwa Dave, which ilikuwa arrow up, arrow down, unarukaruka spacebar and all that. Yes.
Yeah.
That's all the experience I had. So already I was going into battle with something I had never had anything about. So I had to decide, okay, hapa, environment of course at some point will charaza me if I don't do anything, right?
Yeah.
It's that I've decided I want to do IT, right? If I don't do anything about it, failure. If I want to be successful, let me just start amassing knowledge. So ilikuwa any chance I would get, I would either hapo sasa, that's where I was reading by then. I would just read content about IT. I'd just hang out with people who are deep in that space when it was programming, when it was networking, and I'd be very inquisitive. I'd be like, hey, how are you doing that? As in, what does that mean? Unaget? Watch videos and just go through the explanations, which now helped me in now building up to the experience that I now have as far as now that that profession or IT is concerned. So for me, that has really worked. Whenever I am the one who says, by the way, hapa, wacha ni my spidey senses tell me I need this skill somewhere. For your example, I think the best way I would mention is the way you've just said that, hey, financial management, but I need to think about my future. Yes. So let me just look out for some things and try to do something.
Yeah.
Those have really served me well. In comparison to now, the scenarios where the environment yenye sasa hapo imebidi yenye right?
Yeah,
okay, let's hop on to yours because now that's me.
I think even for me it's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the initiative comes from within, you're like, I need to seek out this development. I need to improve on this. I need to do this. I think it has served me better when it comes to my own growth and development.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we'll say that example that you had said, when it comes to accounting, whatever you've learned, personally I'd like to think it's because ilibidi ni learn. You have to learn all these things for you to, if you need to be in the profession, if you need to succeed in the you have to learn them. Mm-hmm. But there are things like the example that you've given of personal finance management. That is just something that I've decided on my own, because I no one taught me about that in school. Mm-hmm. I need to do it on my own. I need to seek out the knowledge on my own.
And it's not that you've received any pressure from the environment. It's not that the environment has ama is it because umeona watu wakizeeka na kina waramba?
Okay,
that is also environment.
But you know, it's not forcing you. Plus, you could say, I have some pension, some savings here and there. Mm-hmm. Why do I need to like?
Yeah, true.
So I think for me, that being intentional about seeking out that the skills, the expertise, the knowledge, for me, it has also served me better. And then when you're intentional about it, because if once you have the intent, then
nothing can stop it.
Yes, nothing can stop it. So, for me, I'd give the same answer as you've given, but that has served me better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sawa. I think, by the way, as far as the discussion is concerned, that's all I had. Just to also mention, though, that if we're talking about development, we have already said, tusha agree hapa, that whether you like it or not, development will happen.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Given 10 years from now, even if you decide to do nothing, there will be some development. So it's you deciding what type of development you want in yourself, or to with your interaction to the environment, to become a better person, right?
Yes. And I think, this is, I think, an opinion we both share. Mm-hmm. I think it would serve you better if you're very intentional with that development, as opposed to letting circumstances or the environment force you into the
okay.
developing
into
you.
development
yourself.
that itabidi ulale njaa ndio upange finances zako
Yes.
vizuri, right?
Yes.
I think that's the example.
Yes.
Okay.
Because for instance, if the environment haitakuforce, then does it mean that there would be no development?
No, they'll still. Okay, in my opinion, either way,
Mhm.
as long as you're living, there'll be some
The
development.
book, let me give you an example of, let's say, okay, you're in IT.
Mhm.
We know the IT industry by the way is very dynamic. Like every year, vitu different zinakam, vitu new zinakam, industry inaenda ikimove. So someone who was practicing IT like 10 years ago, compared to what you guys are doing right now, mse ako nyuma sana. So if that person did not, make sure that skills zake ziko up to date.
Mhm.
So me as an accountant, if I'm not like constantly just moving with the industry,
Mhm.
next year the industry will have moved. Itakuwa
Further.
imeenda, yeah. So
Go
I'll be
further.
just here. It's like I'm going back
Mhm.
if I'm not keeping pace with
Mhm.
with the industry.
Very true. It's that utawachwa. That is very true, and I like that you have given that example, accounting or IT, in a very specific subset, in a very specific channel, a very specific space. Ukiangalia within the timeline, if you don't do anything about it, you will be left behind.
Mm.
But what I would like to think as well is, if you look at Matters Life, now not just looking at that specific line, if you look at Matters Life, either way you will develop, you will grow.
Yes.
Either way, whether you like it or not, you will grow and you will develop.
Yeah.
Last year ulikuwa 15, this year uko 16.
Mm.
Wewe miaka zako last year ulikuwa karibu nikuanike. But either way ulikuwa na hizi miaka, either way you will develop.
Mm.
But if you are very intentional about now the areas, and I think now it calls back to now the measures that you were mentioning, that you would be intentional in what you are minding to develop, that I need to intentionally spare some time for gym so that I can build the body that I want. I need to intentionally spare some time for this topic in IT so that as an individual, my profession, I am able to better secure it. In accounting, I need to, right?
Yes.
If you're very intentional about that, then if you look at now that timeline, 10 years, utangalia useme, Excel yangu, pamoja na gym, pamoja na emotional intelligence, pamoja na whatever not, I was very oblivious compared to now, when at least now I can talk about VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, and at least now I can talk about biceps, triceps, and at least now I can talk about love language. Unaelewa?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes sense by the way.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think as we even come to the close of the episode for today, I think for me, what has helped me over the years, even with that intentional growth and development, has been, I'd say one, just reading quite a lot, just being intentional also in what I'm reading. I'd say also the people that I'm associating with. Ni watu kama nyinyi, watu watu wanafanya unaangalia life with difference kabisa, wana challenge thinking.
So jamani, sasa ulikuwa unasema tulikuwa tunakubodisha.
Unaona? Kama hiyo umenibodisha hadi ikabidi sasa niende gym. So I'd say pia the people that you're surrounding yourself with, because if you just ukiwa tu na watu like wako tu, people
ukishindia stories za jabo,
story tu za jabo mtakwamia hapo. But if you get people that are challenging you, telling you, oh, by the way, you need to think about this, nini, then it helps you. I'd say even consuming content, very nice podcasts we have here, you can just listen to, and then you're like, hey, okay, that one, I think this is building me. I think there's some value I'm getting from them.
There's also we also have enough content to just do a shout out. Pia content covers podcast.
Yes, pia ka content kama haka unajua kana ku
if you inachangia development na probably kuna mtu.
And in fact, but topic ya leo ni growth and development. Alafu niambie utakosa aje. Nini hapo? So yeah, I think for me, those are the things that are coming to mind. The things that I've been leveraging on to just build on my, or rather to just develop myself.
Okay. To also mention now what has really helped me is reliance on more than just one source for information.
Yes.
That although Githinji ataniambia ni hivi kunaenda,
yes.
I will also just go and get some other opinion from somewhere to just see whether I have left out any,
yes.
right?
Yes.
That has also added to now what you've exactly
yes.
mentioned, that sometimes you might the problem that we actually face as human beings, or I have faced personally, wacha nisiseme human beings na labda huko kuna Einstein wanashanga huyu jamani nini ananianika na mimi niko sawa, is that you as in kuna neo, it's exactly the cognitive bias that you've been mentioning here and there, that once you have some information you might think that you know it all. But when now you decide to really venture, you realize that whatever you know is a subset of a subset of a subset.
Yes.
And even the farther you go, you realize that you know less than you knew in the first place. That has really helped me. And it has also been about knowing when to because when you realize it's a subset of a subset of a subset, it's very easy to also just go down that rabbit hole and just never come out of it. It's knowing when to start to pick whatever information you need, and also just knowing when to either hop off or just take a break from. Because, right? Because when it comes now to answering questions or figuring things out, if you stick on ati lazima ni find out, I must get to the bottom of it, unaweza jipata, my friend, you have... so that has really helped me. Sijui, in summary, that's it from me.
Yeah. And in reference to that, and I know you know this, and I'm sure you love this Nini by Socrates as well. I think someone asked him, I don't know what was the question, but then he said that I know nothing. So when you have that mentality of what you know is and then you're just curious and just find out more. And the same thing you've said, even if I've told you my perspective, you'll be like, okay, let me just go and find other sources.
Either way, I'll just figure whatever that information is part of the input. I need to get as clear a picture as possible. But again, it will never be the clearest picture.
Yes.
So get it to as close as you need it to be. And now just action. That has really helped. So guys, that has been it from us. Thank you for hanging out with us in another very interesting episode. Remember, if you're new here, we are glad you joined and you've stayed for this long. Kusubscribe manze ni free. Unajua kulikuwa na charges na tukang'oa hizo charges. Now it's free.
Okay, but apologies my people, but sahi tumetoa hizo charges. Subscription ni free. Yes.
Click that red button, hang out with us in the next very interesting episode.
Also remember to like the video, it really helps apparently with the YouTube
nasikia kuna algorithms apparently sijui zinaangalia nini ndio ziamue
so tuweke tu hapo
right. So until next time, kama kawaida, deuces.
Before mkate kuna venye mafans wanasema hapa we want to read fans comments. Kuna moja anasema that M-Pesa inaponya magonjwa 64 but now hii sport inaponya magonjwa 86.
Nani anasema? Uongo.
Video hii.
Okay.
Kata kitu.